Okay, so today is February 28th, 2026, and it is 7 p.m. Central Time, and I am Ronaldo J. Ayamarcano. So see again, and they come armed with two, each one with a phone pointing at the car, just in case, right? Just in case one misses it, the other redundancy, right? I'm sorry, it's funny at this point, right? So yes, let's see. So I just want to record. So this morning I did an interesting round. It was early in the morning, it was like 2 a.m. and that was demo D117. So this would be demo D118. And I had a couple of things that I had in my talking points for that demo, but I cannot run out of time. So I want to record those things, and they're like bloopers, really. I mean, things that looking in retrospective are funny, right? I see them and they make me laugh, right, in a good way. So I'll say them here. So let me see what makes most sense. The first one I'm going to tell you is about 2024, right? So the year is 2024, and they are in this process of harassing me, right, with the database, right, which ultimately led to the capture of the database. But this was before the capture. So this must have been between, say, May and September 2024, right? And this was the period of time in which I was transitioning from one house to the other. And I was running with Penelope, right? Almost every day. We had this routine of running almost every day, 5 to 10 kilometers, right? That's short runs. And they were harassing me, right? Intercepting me at every corner, right? To get the cookie, to steal the technology. They were focused on stealing key opinion leaders, like the code. So, and this elevated level of surveillance was what ultimately led to the capture of the database, right? That's what leaked the database, really, because they let me see the points that they had marked in the index, right? And then I started measuring the radio frequency spectrum in those points, and this let me see that this was orchestrated with an app, right, like an Uber app. But anyhow, the harassment was heavy, right? Was heavy harassment. Not harassment, it was more surveillance. Like, their goal wasn't to harass me, their goal was to steal the cookies from my phone. The Google cookies, right? So they could steal the code and all those things. And see who I was emailing and all everything, right? But what's funny, right, is that at some point I started fearing for my safety. No, actually, this must have been after. So I started fearing for my safety, So this must have been after September, right? September 2024. Because after I got the database, then it turned from surveillance to harassment, right? So that was interesting, right? So they planted that man there, right? And the man was doing something really dangerous. He was kneeling down backwards, like facing with his back to the traffic, right? Dressed in black, picking something from the floor, right, on the road, right? So of course I honk at him to warn him that he could be run over by a car, right? What he does in response, he turns around and starts insulting me, right, and throwing things at the car. It could be a way to pick up a fight, right? I don't know. Given the situation they're in, right? They're desperate. Like they don't know what to do. So anyhow, yes. So after the database was captured, then the surveillance, the heavy surveillance, turned into harassment. Like, they were really harassing me, right? and I started fearing for my safety, right? So at that point, I had the system already of attaching, so kind of a predecessor of the computer vision system that I have today. So back in those days, it was based on GoPro cameras, right? So these were GoPro cameras. The quality of those cameras is amazing. I mean, the video from those days is amazing, the quality. It's better than these cameras, because these are more like, home security cameras that I'm using now. But back in those days, it was GoPro cameras. But of course, this wasn't convenient because I had to be recharging the batteries, right? Every time I went out. So it was painful, like in that sense. It was time consuming. I had this system already with the cameras. So I would attach the cameras to the car, and then I would afterwards download the video, and turn it into a feed that I would consume in the pipeline, right, programmatically. So when they started harassing me, what I had to do, because I still wanted to run. I still wanted to have some level of freedom, right, to be able to run at least in the park. So what I started doing was I attached one of the cameras to my body, right? I bought one of those. It's kind of an accessory that you buy, and you basically can attach the GoPro camera to your chest, for example, right, or to your belt. And then when I was running, I had this camera, and this was a deterrent. Like, they wouldn't harass me so closely because they saw the camera, and the camera would record them, right, with their faces. So as I was running, this was a deterrent. And at the same time, it allowed me to capture video that I could use to train, the models. So that was amazing. So see, this is an example of a gas station, right? I bet you that guy from that car is gonna come out of the car as soon as I approach the gas station, right? So this is the clown technique. There's gonna be somebody who's gonna come out from a car. You're gonna see. No, they didn't do it. So maybe it's true, right, that the clones were recalled. So anyhow, yes. So one second, let me let this guy pass. Okay, so yes, anyhow, the blooper is, right, that during this period of time, I feared for my safety a lot. I was concerned, right, that they could harm me, because I understood, what I had captured. I understood the gravity of the data, right, immediately. It took me 4 hours to understand it. I mean, to understand what I had in my hands. So, the blooper is that when all that happened, so what I did to be able to still keep running was to tell Penelope that we should, change because before we were running in different parks, right, the regular parks. So what I did is to tell Penelope that we should change the places where we would run, and we would start running near the Full Shear police station. So the idea was that I was going to park my car at the Full Shear police station in front of the camera that it's in front of the police station, thinking that this would protect me, that this would deter them from tampering with the car or harming me, right? Because this was at the police station. Of course, I look back in retrospective, and this is funny to me because the police of Full Shear and Fort Bend and Harris County are deeply compromised by this network, right? That was probably one of the most dangerous places for me to park the car, but I didn't know it, right? As a citizen, I was trusting the institution because it's the police, right? And that's the danger of this, right? But I look back in retrospective of that, that mentality of mine of thinking that I would be safe parking the car there, and this was probably the most dangerous place for me to be, right? So that's the blooper. It's funny, really. I have another one. Yes, so this one is funny, right? So after I moved to Lake Point Estates, and Phil Denning gave me that welcome package in which he gave me that booklet that ultimately led to the discovery of the real identities of everybody at Lake Point Estates, right? When that happened, I got it here. So this is really funny. So, they did that ruse with Enrique Morales, right? In which Penelope took me running, and when we were coming back to her car, Enrique Morales, who supposedly is an ICE agent. Well, I think he is an ICE agent, right? Well, I don't know. It could have been a stage as well, right? And maybe he's not even an ICE agent. I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, at this point, I don't know what to believe about Enrique Morales. But this is what they did, right? So when we were coming back to her car, Enrique Morales came out from his truck, from his house, carrying 2 assault rifles, like war weapons. Like, these are war weapons, right? Automatic assault rifles, and he put them in his truck. Of course, when I see these huge, weapons, I become paralyzed, physically paralyzed. I couldn't move, right? But he looks at me and he says, "Don't worry." This place is important. 3562. What street is this? Okay, so this is JCT Bend Lane. So January Charlie Tango Bend Lane. And that house in question, which is the most important guy here, is the 3562. So anyhow, yes. So Phil Denning gave me that. So this is a marker. I see how it works now. So these 2. Wow. Remember, this is Street Boys. This is Junction Bend. Yeah, this is something else. I have to tell you. I have to do some research on this. But anyhow, so they Phil Denning gave me the booklet, right? That ultimately revealed the names of everybody at Lake Point Estates, right? When I ingested the booklet. But, the real names, right? Because they obscured the identities of the key people. Like, Larry Ryan and Joel Gray and everybody else, right? But the identities are in the booklet that he gave me. This is silly, right? It's incompetence. But anyhow, so the sequence was that they did this ruse with Enrique Morales, right? But this was before the capture of the database, right? And of course, according to the informant, I don't know if this is true, but according to the informant, Penelope was dating, or after that started dating, Enrique Morales, right? But they set up the situation in a way that it looked like they didn't know each other, right? That this was just a random person carrying 2 assault rifles. But anyhow, Enrique Morales looks at me and tells me, calm down, this is for my work. That's what he said, implying that he's a federal agent, right? And this was designed so then when they escalated the attack with Akamai, I would run to Enrique Morales' door, knock on the door, and tell him everything I knew, right? So I would spill the beans to Enrique Morales, who was really an agent of Diodoro Cabello, right? So that was the ruse. But anyhow, I do this exactly. This worked like a charm, right? For what they had planned. I went, they harassed me with Akamai and the lawyers and Boris.com and James Casey, all that, right? And I went running to tell Enrique Morales because I thought he's a federal agent, right? That he would help me. Anyhow, after that, right, I'm thinking that he's really helping me. And he tells me that he's going to refer me to the FBI, right? So I'm thinking that, I'm in the hands of the FBI, right? So anyhow, I moved to Lake Pone State, right? And in one of those occasions that I'm running in the park with Penelope, right? I show her the booklet, right? And in this booklet, I point out, so they got me here, right? I point out that there's a house of Damon Sachs, right? That's what I point out to Penelope. And this happened in this police station, right, that I'm describing. The Full Shear police station. Full Shear police. And I tell her, right, I mean, what I'm implying with that comment to her is that I think this is the FBI, right, setting up a situation to help me, right? Because what a coincidence that her former employer, Damon Sachs, was now at the same urbanization or the same neighborhood where I bought this house, right? I thought this was something set up by the FBI thanks to Enrique Morales, right? But when I say this to Penelope, I mean, the face she made was more or less the same face that she made when I told her that Gloria was helping me coordinate logistics with somebody that was helping, right? It was the same face. Penelope made this face of, like, this can't be true, like this can't, of course, because she was even involved with Damon Sachs at some point, right? And they were doing these rules in 2018, like the elderly affair, that rules that I call the elderly affair, right? So I mean, it's funny, right? I mean, they tricked me so well with Enrique Morales that I thought that Damon Sachs was working for the FBI, and I go running, tell this to Penelope, who is an agent of Cesaro Cabello. I mean, it's just hilarious, right? They had me completely encircled with all these people. Let's let you pass. See, so that is a level 2. Thing two-way or what? I don't know. Let's not risk it. They send the level 2 to block the corner. It's the same technique, it's the same thing. That's the only trick they know, it seems. Yeah, so that's that blooper with Penelope, right? It's funny. It was funny that I thought that Damon Sachs was the FBI helping me. And that I confided in her at the Full Share police station parking lot, right? It's hilarious. Oh my god. I wonder what they're gonna do with those cars at 1 a.m. Because they cannot have that event all night. It cannot be a vigil, right? At the school, right, at the high school. So I wonder what they're going to do with those cars at 1 a.m. It's an interesting question. So anyhow, now let me tell you a little bit about what's going on the strategy side of things. So I, of course, after I discovered this nuclear weapon, I started using it, right? I'm kind of I think of myself at this stage as a little butterfly that is just testing its wings. So I sent nuclear weapons, really. These people are really going to get into trouble. All those reports that they blocked with the IRS are gonna come to light. And are going to come to light supercharged with the powers of the OFAC. so I don't know. It's going to be one for the books, really. This is going to be epic, right? It's going to be a different level of seizure of assets in different countries, right? So I think I honestly think it's game over. I might be wrong, right? They might resist somehow. But especially because they have this nuclear situation also with KP George, who is already indicted, right? And has been indicted for 2 years, I think. And they have that, now what they're gonna do with that, right? With all this heat from the OFAC, putting the spotlight on all of them. It seems to me like a disastrous situation. So that's why they're jumpy, right? So that's why they are behaving in this erratic way today. So this is Whiskey X-Ray Frank 2384. It's an Honda blue, and his job was to block that that corner to keep me trapped there, so the level 2 could arrive. Right, that was the goal. The level 2 was that great truck that was behind him, right behind me. But of course, I kind of I took the right. I parked the car so they could pass, right? They couldn't But the goal was to get me on this traffic stop with that gray truck. After that failed in that, U-turn. So I'm gonna say this to the network because I know they're listening to this, right? So I have, I don't know, maybe 50 other IRS forms that I can convert to OFAC forms. So I can do this for years, literally. I would recommend that you give up. There's no shame on retreating. Put Telfair in jail and pretend that this was just one corrupt judge. That's the solution, right? The solution is to throw Telfair into the fire and give back the child, and make it look like it was one corrupt judge, right? It's not a RICO enterprise. It's just one corrupt judge, and Rinaldo, took it the wrong way, right? That's the solution to this problem. There's still time, but on my side, I have to tell you, I have 50 other or more. I think it's 57 other IRS reports that I can and will convert to OFAC reports if you don't give up, right? So think about it. See, so that is the level 2. The objective there is to get me in that gray sedan, right? Sedan. The objective is that they think they're gonna park behind him at the traffic light, right? And then that car will download the audio. But of course I'm not going to do that. Obviously not. They will have to get the audio from Tesla, right? They're gonna have to call Elon and tell him to give them the audio. See, they brought 2 pedestrians with their phones at this point. Let's get the place from the Venezuelans. Oh no, but the Venezuelans are gray. No, I'm gonna pass on that today. Not interested in the place. The plates. See, they're all gray. This is funny. Okay, it's my cue. They blocked me. The fire truck. You see? It's all about knowing how it works. That's all you have to do. I mean, understanding the mechanics, right? The key is in the mechanics. See, the goal here is to get me with that car, right? He's not gonna let him in until I pass. That's interesting. See, the black truck was coming because he thought I would pass, but I did not pass. So this means there is a broken loop of communication there. Like he did not get informed that I did not enter. You see, and he went back. That is interesting. So that means that they're not consuming the GPS location of this car from Tesla at all. Because he would have known, right, that I mean, if they were consuming the GPS location from the car, he would have known that I did not enter. And what's the black truck? I mean, there's many black trucks, right? But it could be the Daniel King Everett, right? It's possible. They're so desperate for getting this audio. It's interesting. You see what they did, right? With that black SUV, with that white SUV, they sent it to press me, to force me to get close to the other guy, to the silver, to the listener, right? Which is the silver sedan, the gray sedan that was waiting for me at the entrance, right? Let's see. See how it works. And that car is going, of course, to Larry Ryan's house, I imagine, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's going to Larry Ryan's house. No, to the Albernatis, right?